In this video, we're going to be starting off a series which is going over basics of programming. And in this series, we're going to be going over two of the main languages, Python and Java. And in this video, we're going to be starting off with the Replit. And Replit is basically an IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment, which is where we can code all our programs. So here we're on the website Replit.
So Replit is, as Arnesh mentioned, an online IDE. And I personally like online IDEs because they're easy to use and they're super convenient. Whenever I need to go, even if I don't have my computer with me, if I'm on like a public computer in the library or something, I can just go onto Replit and sign in with my account. And that's pretty much all you need. You can type out your programs here. The negatives, however, of Replit and other online IDs are that they're not as powerful as regular IDs. And so that's one negative. But for introductory programmers who are just getting into programming, that's not a big issue. It shouldn't be a big issue.
And also, when you're signing into an account, like if any of the programs you've made before, it's all going to be saved on your account. So in this case, since we have a new account, since we have created programs before, under recent is going to show two programs, program one, program two. And so it's basically all saved on your account. And that's also an upside of the online ID.
Yes. Okay, and so let's go ahead and get started with creating a file, a program. So this is what you're going to be doing most of the time that you're here on this website. This is kind of like the main hub, right? The central hub, like where you can see all your stuff and you can create stuff and all that. So let's just go ahead and create. So under create a REPL, this tab, you can see the languages that you can use. Now, notice that there are so many languages. You're not going to be using you're not even going to be using a third of these. Well, you might, but for our purposes in this series, we're only going to be using Python and Java for the most part. So let's click on Python.
And so when you click on a language, it's going to generate a random title for you. Now you can just rename it to whatever title you want. And so in this case, we can just rename it to program 3, for example. And after we rename it to whatever program title we want, we could just go ahead and click on the button that says plus create REPL.
Yes. And notice that it's public, and you can't convert it to private because you need the paid version of Replit for that. But that doesn't matter for us here. Okay, so notice that we are on the main screen. This is the main screen, and this is basically where you're going to be doing all of your coding. So here it's just kind of laid out in a special way, where the center of the screen where my cursor is, it's going to be the place where you type all your programs, and here on the right is where you can test your code, and it's a console, so you can see the outputs of your code. And here, so that's one thing you can do there. And here we can see the file tree, which is where all the files are located.
And also, as we mentioned before, in the Y is basically an IDE where you can type all that code. And when you want to run that code, you can go ahead and click on the green button that with the play symbol and run in order to run the code in the console itself.
Exactly. So let's say I wanted to print something, right, real quickly. So I can just do print. And if you don't know how to print, or if you don't know anything about Python, that's fine. You can go ahead and watch the series Arnesh created on the same channel. And there's a lot of videos, and there's still more videos that are being made. And those videos will help you sort of get into Python. But in this video and in this series, really, what we're doing is our main goal is to try to create a lot of projects and create a collaborative environment. So you can hopefully create some projects as well. So let's go ahead and print stuff. So let's just print my first Python program.
In addition to going over Replit, we'll also be going over why is programming important and how it helps us to understand what a computer does and how it functions as well.
Yeah. Okay. So next step is to hit the run button, as Arnesh mentioned earlier. And this is just going to compile your code and run the code. So notice that it printed out onto the screen. All right, so that's essentially just the basics of your environment. You have these buttons over here. So these buttons are going to help you create files and create folders as well. So let me first create a file, and then I'll put all these files into a folder.
So when you click on add file, it's going to create a program for us, and we can rename it to whatever you want. So for example, we could name it test.py, and we can just click on it, and it's going to create a file for us.
Okay, and the next thing is let's put both of these things into a folder. So let's go ahead and click on add folder, and let's just call this folder
We can rename
folder
it to
1.
test.
Yeah, we can also call it
There's
test.
test. And once you've created that file, you can just drag those files into the folder. Or we can also click add to file as well.
Yes. So notice that under test, there's these two files, the main and the test. And what you can do is you can rename, and if you wanted to just add the files, you can just add the files by clicking on add file. And that will also help you create a new file. So you can also click on
So
this button, or if you wanted to just add it straight into the folder, you can click on this button over here. Another thing you can do is actually create subfolders to be more organized if you wanted to. And that will also, so all you do is just click on add folder, and that will create the folder inside here.
and so it gives us an option to create as many files as we want and as many folders we want to organize our work. And that's how it makes the Replit such an amazing IDE where we can organize our work.
Yes. Okay. So now that we have all of these things down, let's go ahead and navigate back to our main dashboard. So this dashboard is going to be useful in seeing all the programs you created, as you can see down here, and quickly creating new programs, as you can see on the Create tab here. And you can also see some basic tutorials um, on Replit as well, as you can see over here. And notice that it says I'm completed with my creating my first REPL. And I actually did that 19 minutes ago. So that's program number 1. And that's with this account. So create your first REPL, and then you can do all these different programs to get started. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to go over to my REPLs and just see all of them in one screen. I can go over to my REPLs over here. And once I do that, I can see all my programs in one screen. And this is extremely useful. And you can also create folders in here as well to segregate your files.
And it will be useful to go over my REPLs when you have a lot of programs and you need to locate wherever your programs are.
Yes. So the last thing I wanted to cover, and we're going to be using this a lot in the future videos, is if we want to go into program 1, for example, let's go into program 1. And this program over here is just a blank program. If you wanted to work with this with your friends or with someone on your team, you can actually invite people into this file and work with them together. So if you say it's just similar to any Google product like Google Docs or Google Slides, and you can invite.
And you can search by username or email. And that's how it makes this IDE also powerful, where you can collaborate, work on a project or together, and you can invite. So you can type an email, for example.
So I'm just going to type the email that we use with this account, and we can hit invite. And so I need to confirm this. And we don't need to do this. This is for allowing for permissions, but we can see here that my account that I sent it to can edit now. So if I go over to my to the account's Gmail, it should be over there. But that's a discussion for a future video. So I hope you found this video helpful. And this was just an introductory video, but in future videos, me and Arnesh will be going through a lot more in detail. So stay tuned for
Yeah.
that with Arnesh and I going over the programming basics.
Goodbye.